let's unbox this. So I really should fast forward through this. Or cut them later. For the past few years I've been working with Sylvester Stallone, MGM, and the photographer Neil Leifer in order to make this book. So what do we have here? It's a translation booklet. This is all the text that's inside the book, but also in German and in French. We have a pair of gloves. One size fits all. So it's all in here. Wow. Look at that. So what we have is inside is a book. It's padded here. So the idea of the colours of the book were the black and the yellow were to represent the trunks, and the red is like the gloves. And here is a facsimile of Sly's original notebook. So when he was writing Rocky, he would write his script and then he would do rewrites, including Apollo Creed first decides to fight the Italian Stallion. And also there's an alternative version of the final scene. This is Rocky the Complete Films. Sylvester Stallone, edited by me. So you can see the cover is padded, like a boxing glove. And let's open it and see what's inside. So this is Finding Rocky, painted by Sylvester Stallone in 1975. He painted this before he started writing the film in order to give himself an idea of what the character looked like, so he could visualize him and to help him both write him and perform him. This has spot varnish on it because the original painting had Man O' War varnish on it, and Sly wanted the print to reflect that. Moving on, going through. Okay, so this is signed by Sylvester Stallone. All the copies, there are 1,976 copies, limited edition. Every single one signed by Stallone. So the beginning of the book is like the opening of a movie with lots of photos by Neil Leifer, who's a great sports photographer and fight photographer, and there's lots of lovely gold. And then the book is broken down into each movie. So we get all the movies, Rocky 1 to 5, then Rocky Balboa, then Creed, and then right at the back we get a poster gallery of all the posters from around the world, including concepts for posters that were unused. Okay, and it's 380 pages. Okay, all right. So I want to show you how it's organized inside each chapter. So we have a foreword by Sylvester Stallone. This is a sort of poem monologue by as if Rocky himself were writing an introduction. And then we have Rocky, the first film. The first half of this chapter is a photo story. So it's telling the story of Rocky using the photography from the movie, as well as quotes from the movie and quotes from people who worked on the movie. And so we can see that Rocky is an everyman character. He's a nurturer, and he collects animals, looks after his turtles, but he also collects people who need help, like Adrian in the pet shop, who he loves and he takes out, and she's sort of in her shell, like a little turtle, and he helps her come out of her shell, and that's really nice. And also he's friends with Paulie and with Mickey, and these are also sort of damaged people who don't really get on in life, or they don't really make the best of their lives. And Rocky, through the film, you see that Rocky, he brings all these people together, so that at the end of the movie, what Rocky has gained and what everybody else with him has gained is they've gained self-respect. And that's the point of the movie, and that's the arc of the movie, and that's one of the reasons why, even though they're fight movies, they're about boxing, they're about conflict, they're also about nurturing and hope and self-improvement. And I think that's really one of the reasons, probably the main reason, why these films have endured for such a long period of time. After we have that first part of the chapter telling the story in photos, we've then got behind the scenes and articles. So all the photos are behind the scenes here, showing the director at work, showing them in makeup, etc. With a great interview with Sylvester Stallone. And then it's the same for all the other movies. So one of the great things about the Rocky movies is that Stallone wrote them all. He created the characters, he starred, but he also wrote all the Rocky movies and directed some of them. So when he started, one of the main impulses he had, one of the main influences, was James T. Farrell and his Studs Lonergan trilogy of books from the 1930s, which shows the sort of spiritual dissolution of the central character. Even though that was the initial impulse, what Stallone did is he turned that on its head, so that as the saga goes through, there are downs, but also it's about spiritual empowerment. What's interesting is that if you go through all the movies, you can actually see that in action. So in the second movie, Rocky II, Stallone, it's about family and him building a family. It's about fame, and he and Paulie live off fame, but it fails. And in the end, they all realise that what they have to do is they have to remain true to themselves, not pretend to be something they're not. And what Rocky is a boxer. So that's why he goes back in the ring and he fights Apollo Creed. And again, at the back, we've got interview with Sylvester Stallone. And then, funnily enough, I also found Roger Ebert also interviewed Muhammad Ali as Ali was watching Rocky II. So you get Ali's view on the movie and what's right and what's not right, etc. It's very funny. Rocky III, again, the character arc for Rocky is that he's on top of the world, he's world champion, but he's lost that inner spirit, that inner self-respect that made him world champion. And everybody's trying to protect him because they know that he's not the person he used to be. Clubber Lang, played by Mr. T, basically knocks him down, takes the world championship away from him. Mickey dies, so Apollo Creed becomes the new mentor to help Rocky regain his spirit and his will to win. And again, everybody comes together around Rocky so that he can fight Clubber Lang and defeat him. So Rocky IV, it's East versus West. So the political situation is that it's America versus the Soviet Union. But besides that, it's about Rocky as a self-made man, as an organic man, versus Ivan Drago, who is the sort of machine-made man from the Soviet Union. And when they fight, really it's about whether Rocky can crack that shell. And once he cracks Ivan Drago, Drago falls apart. And it's at the end that Rocky says to the crowd, "Look, I came here full of ill will. I came here for revenge, for the wrong reasons. But I've changed, and you can change. And if we change together, we can make a better world." So in the end, it's all about reconciliation. Now, for Rocky V, the fight with Ivan Drago broke something inside Rocky. He can't fight anymore. He comes back to the US, he's lost all his money, then he has to go back to his roots, back to Philadelphia. He can't let go of that life. So Rocky, he takes on another fighter to train, takes on Tommy Gunn, because Rocky wants to relive that old life. He wants to relive the fights through the eyes of Tommy Gunn. And in doing so, he ignores his son, Robert, his son who needs his support. So the final scenes become about Rocky confronting Tommy Gunn and basically expunging that idea from his life so that he can go back to his family and go back to his wife and son. And then many years later, Stallone came back to Rocky Balboa in Rocky Balboa, and this is a completely different man. This is a man who's grieving. He's a widower. Adrian has passed away, and his son is now estranged from him. So the whole film becomes about grief and overcoming grief, and how do you do that? And again, he meets all these different people, and he brings them together, and in the end he gets rid of his grief and regains his self-respect by fighting. So the message is always that it's about what's inside the fighter, what's inside Rocky, that needs healing. It's not about the person he's fighting, because the person he's fighting is himself. Also, we have Creed, written and directed by Ryan Coogler, who's now famous for Black Panther, starring Michael B. Jordan as Adonis Creed, Donnie Creed. Rocky has now become the mentor. He's now taken over the role that Mickey had in the first movies. He's somebody who's basically at the end of his life. He's just going along. He doesn't want anything to do with the future. He doesn't see what he has to live for. And by meeting Adonis, he finds a new life for himself. And that's really his arc in the movie, which is great. At the end of the film, they climb the famous steps in Philadelphia in front of the art museum, and Rocky looks back and he says, "If you look hard enough, you can see your whole life from up here." Well, you don't have to look far. All you have to do is pick up Rocky the Complete films and you can see all of Rocky's life.